places.
Yeah. Well, hello, everybody. We are from The Odd Couple, the female version, which opens next week on Thursday. And we are just kind of going to jump in and give you a little teaser. And shows run next week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then the weekend after, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So I'll give you a little taste, and I hope you enjoy.
Ready? Okay.
Oh, Florence, 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 Florence.
I know. What am I going to do, Olive?
You're going to wash down those pills with some hot black coffee. I'll make it.
You know, the terrible thing is I still love him. It's a terrible marriage, but I still love him. I don't want to get divorced.
Wait, you want a brownie? A chocolate brownie? It's about 3 weeks old, but I could toast it.
You know, if Sydney and I break up, I'll be the first one in my family to be divorced.
You said your mother and father were divorced.
I meant since them. My sister is still married, or separated but married.
How about some espresso with Stella D'Oro cookies?
You know, how dare he treat me like this? How dare he? Oh, my neck. Oh,
What did you do?
it's a nerve spasm. I get it in the neck. Oh, God, it hurts.
Well, what can I do?
A towel. Get me a hot towel. Very hot.
And how about some aspirin?
Aspirin is good. And some brandy.
Okay, a hot towel,
I can't move
aspirin,
my
and
neck.
brandy. Anything else?
And Bengay to rub in after.
Right.
And a scarf. A woolen scarf. Cashmere's better if you have one. Oh, I knew we were in trouble, Olive. I knew something was coming. In the middle of the night, I'd tiptoe into the bathroom and I'd pray, please, God, please help me save my marriage. Please tell me what to do. Tell me what I'm doing wrong. Please, God. And then I'd hear Sydney in the bedroom saying, please, God, make her shut up. Tell her to be quiet, please, God.
Here, put on the scarf and take your aspirin.
I'm not a complainer. I never once tried to tell Sydney what to do. He wears a toupee 2 sizes too big. He looks like an English sheepdog. I never said a word.
Drink your brandy.
Now he's into cowboy boots. 5'3.5". He wears cowboy boots that come up to his knees. He looks like he jumped off a 100-foot horse. He's also into languages. He's studying Russian at the new school. Instead of yes, he says duh. Everything is duh.
You're tensing up again, Florence. Stop tensing.
I'm married to a 5'3" man with an oversized toupee and boots up to his knees who walks around saying duh, and he walks out on me?
Relax. Your neck feels like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Sometimes I think I'm crazy. Sometimes I think I should be put in an institution.
Later, if the massage doesn't work.
That doesn't smell like Bengay.
Oh, you're right. It's toothpaste.
I don't think this is helping me.
It's because you won't relax. Have you always been this tense?
Since I was a baby, I could chew a thick sirloin steak just with my gums.
Bend over.
I do terrible things, Olive. I cry. I panic. I get hysterical.
Let me know if this hurts. I have no idea what the hell I'm doing.
I take advantage of you, Olive. I abuse our friendship. I know I drive you crazy.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do.
You don't.
I do. I see you grit your teeth together when I talk to you. You used to have much longer teeth.
Okay, how does your neck feel?
Better.
Good.
But it never lasts long.
Maybe this time.
No, it just came back.
Come on, drink your brandy.
I don't think I can. It doesn't go down.
I'll get you a plunger. Come on, drink the brandy. You'll feel better.
Thank God the kids are away at summer school. They'll be spared this until September.
Please drink your brandy.
I don't want to get a divorce, Olive. I don't suddenly want to change my whole life.
Oh, all right. Listen to me. You're going to calm down and relax. And then tomorrow, you and I are going to plan a whole new life for you.
Without Sydney? What kind of a life is there without Sydney?
I don't live with Sydney, and I'm very happy. Come on, Florence, you can do this.
Olive, you've been through it yourself. what did you do? How did you get through it?
I drank for 4 days and 5 nights. I couldn't work. I ate a quart of Haagen-Dazs Jamocha almond fudge every night. I gained 14 pounds, 7 on each hip. I looked like I was carrying my laundry in my pockets. But I got through it.
Well, and what about Sydney? I mean, he's human too. How's he going to get through this?
He's a man. Men have freedom. He can meet women anywhere. We have to donate a kidney and hope that the man is grateful and single.
You think Sydney is thinking of other women at a time like this?
I guarantee you by this time tomorrow, he's going to be at a singles bar, sitting on a stool on top of 2 telephone books.
You think so?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's the matter now?
Oh, my ears are closing up. It's a sinus condition. I'm allergic. I'm not going to jump. I just need a breath. Oh, I was even allergic to perfume. I had to wear Sydney's his aftershave lotion and Old Spice menthol. Always felt like I just sailed home from Singapore.
What are you doing?
I'm trying to clear my ears. You create a pressure inside, and then it opens up.
Did it open up?
A little. I think I strained my throat.
Oh, Florence, leave yourself alone. Don't tinker.
I can't help myself. I drive everyone crazy. A marriage counselor once kicked me out of his office. He wrote on my chart, lunatic. I don't blame Sydney. It's impossible to be married to me.
It takes 2 to make a lousy marriage.
What am I going to do, Olive? What am I going to do with the rest of my life? I have so much of it left. If only I were 70, 75, I could get through it.
I'll tell you what you're going to do. You're going to start your life over and stand on your own 2 feet. Be independent.
You're right.
Of course I am.
Well, that's what I was before I was married. I was a great bookkeeper. I could have been Price Waterhouse today. You're right. Go back to work. Be independent. A self-sufficient woman.
Oh, you're damn right.
Maybe I should ask for my old job back.
Why not? Who did you work for?
Sydney! Oh, God, the mistakes I've made. Goddamn idiot. I hate me.
You don't hate you. You love you. You think no one has problems like you do.
You're wrong. I happen to know I hate my guts.
Come on, Florence. I've never seen someone so in love. If you had 2 more legs, you'd take yourself out dancing.
I thought you were my friend.
I am. That's why I can talk to you this way. I love you almost as much as you do.
Then help me.
How can I help you when I can't help myself? You think you're impossible to live with? I've been sloppy since I was a kid. I got married in a white gown with Coca-Cola stains on it. My mind was into other things. I like to write. I like to paint. I like photography. I don't like to clean up. I leave a mess after reading a book.
I don't do it for myself. I liked Sydney coming home to a clean house. I want my children growing up having respect for things. How else will they learn?
But what's the point of it all? When you're dead, they're going to throw dirt on your grave anyway.
Oh, I wish I could change. Maybe I should call Sydney.
What for?
Well, in case we, to talk it out again, in case we left something unsaid.
So where is your self-respect? You want to go crawling back on your hands and knees?
He wouldn't notice. He'd think I was scrubbing the floors.
Come on, Florence. Listen to me. Tonight, you're going to sleep here. And tomorrow, you're going to go home and pack up your sinus medicines and your aftershave lotions and move in here with me.
Are we done?
Yeah.
All right, let's hear it for Julie Wolf and Dana Morrison. They will be in The Odd Couple. Starts March 18th. There's more info on the poster. I think it's the first or second poster right when you walk out the theater here. But I got to do a little backstage stuff real quick. 1 second. Awesome. Well, good morning, everyone. Happy 1 Million Cups Wednesday. My name is Tyler DeMars. I'm with CTB at the Idea Center. I'll be your MC this morning. Watching that video every time, I'm sure like a lot of you, fills me with community pride. And downtown community pride is what we're celebrating today. We have a couple of outstanding, fascinating, interesting, and important downtown developments that we'll be hearing more about today. My only job is to be as fast as I can this morning because you'll want to hear from them, and we're running a little behind. But so, how many first-timers here this morning? Awesome, quite a few this morning. Great, good to see you. Good to see you. Happy you're here. Hope you'll be back again. We ask every week if you have the 1 Million Cups app that you please check in. If you don't have the app, please go to your respective app store and download and then check in. This gives us some data to work with, lets us know who's coming or going, and is also a nice tool for you to stay in the loop on what's coming up next at 1 Million Cups in Bismarck and Mandan. So please check in or download that app and then check in. Special thanks to our sponsors. These folks help us pay the bills here, pay for the facility, pay for some coffee. Can we give a quick shout out, but important shout out, we're talking downtown development today, to our Bismarck Downtowners. We, two of our 1 Million Cups organizing team members, Madison Cermak and Kate Herzog, they're an important part of our team here. They're awesome ladies. They do amazing work. Don Kopp as well. Thank you, ladies, for all the work you do. You know, I moved last month. It's been 10 years that I've been in Bismarck. I moved here in 2011. Downtown Bismarck looks drastically different than it did 10 years ago when I moved here, and that's a lot of the work that went into that. Credit needs to go to those the Bismarck Downtowners. So thank you so much, ladies. All right, so 1 Million Cups. So what is it? So 1 Million Cups is a educational and networking event. We do this every Wednesday morning. We put a different entrepreneur or two, entrepreneur, small business owner, nonprofit founder on stage to talk about the opportunity they're pursuing, where they see it going, what is their vision for it, and what their biggest challenges are, okay? Our goal ultimately is to help them refine their idea and connect them to resources in our community. So the question we're asking every week is, can we change the face of our startup community by connecting local entrepreneurs over 1 million cups of coffee? All right, after Jake and David present this morning, we'll have a Q&A. You can ask your question in person. If we'll have a mic runner, and just warning, we're asking questions out of this mug now. This is our new toy at 1 Million Cups, so it's being improved every week. But so if you're scared of this mug, you'll have to put it in the chat and Facebook, and Kirsten will ask it for you on social media. So for our live stream audience as well, please put your questions in that chat on Facebook, and Kirsten's on social media this morning. She'll ask those questions for you. All right, we have a few community announcements this morning. Kirsten with the North Dakota Women's Business Centers first.
Thank you, Tyler. Happy belated International Women's Day. That just happened. And so in honor of all the women and all the good work that they've done throughout the generations, we're doing a couple awesome things this month. So we always host the Leading Ladies Luncheon. It'll be downtown, no, it won't. It will be at the Ramkota in Bismarck on March 25th. So you'll want to get your tickets, a luncheon from 11 to 1 p.m. And we interview 5 women about just their journeys as women in leadership, and see the accomplishments and celebrate them. And then the next day, if you are ready to get out of the house, it looks like we're filling up here. It's so good to see so many faces in the audience. People are ready to start connecting again. We're holding a women's networking at Core Women, The Power of Connection. So we hope to see you there. You can get your tickets on Eventbrite for both events. Thank you.
Thank you, Kirsten. All right, 2021 Mandan Business Pitch Challenge. This is year 3 of this Business Pitch Challenge. They have 4 finalists selected, and there's an event taking place March 24th at the Baymont in Mandan, where these 4 finalists will pitch to a panel of business experts, with the winner getting a prize package that includes a $10,000 forgivable loan from the Mandan Growth Fund. So the event is March 19th. Doors open at 5. Presentations or pitches start at 5:30. If you want to be there, you're asked to register at cityofmandan.com/register, or if you just Google it like a normal human being, Mandan Business Pitch, it'll come up. So, so yeah, if you, please check it out if you can. These are always interesting to hear, and I think all 4 of these businesses will eventually get off the ground. Just one of them is going to be a little accelerated with that extra support from the Mandan Growth Fund. All right, some updates on COVID-19 vaccine availability. So the Public Health Department is now serving Phase 1C, which includes that list on the right. So if you are in one of those groups and weren't aware, that COVID vaccine is now available to you. Okay, well, without further ado, I would like to introduce our speakers this morning. We're talking about Bismarck Downtown Development. We have David Witham with Denizen Partners and Jake Axtman with AGL and Associates. So let's give a warm welcome to David and Jake.
Thank you, Tyler, for that introduction. Very pleased to be here. Can you guys hear me? Okay, I think so. Very excited, very happy that this is a topic that you all are interested in, and very happy that we're the ones that get to be here to talk about it with you all. So, without further ado, we're going to jump in. All right, I was told the point. There we go. All right, so this is kind of our outline for the day. We're going to introduce ourselves real quick. We're going to define some terms. We're going to talk about some of the challenges that we faced in our projects and give you and talk about how our projects address those challenges. But really what we want to do is get to the end where we get to talk to you. So we're going to try to work through those first few things as quick as we can. So just to introduce ourselves again, my name is David Witham. I'm the salient points about who I am here is I'm a local developer, emphasis on local, and I'm a designer as a background who got into the urban design niche of that field, and I'll let Jake introduce himself as well.
Hey everyone, I'm Jake Axtman. I'm also a local small-scale developer. I work as a landscape architect and planner during my day job.
All right, so we're going to define some terms here. First of all, what is downtown? And from a technical standpoint, to me, what downtown is, it's a fine-grained mix of uses. So you can think of it as a bucket of multicolored sprinkles all mixed together. And it's about when you have that integration of different things touching each other, it's all about the edges and how they connect. And good design is an essential part of making those connections work and work well so that that proximity is a good thing and not a bad thing. And downtown, things are close together. It means that you can walk from place to place. You park once, or maybe you live there. Maybe you park once a month. So walking, that scale of the infrastructure and the cost to move around being so low is a huge asset to downtown. And what that all means at the end of the day is that downtown is an engine for economic growth and development. It's where you want to start a new business. It's got old buildings, which is a great place for new ideas. It's got even existing businesses when you're trying to larger businesses, more established businesses trying to attract and recruit the 21st century workforce. That's what people are looking for when they're trying to decide which town they want to live in. So having a strong, vibrant downtown, we think is really, really important to the entire community. And then that final piece up on the side here is back to that scale of the infrastructure thing again, where you've got a very, very high amount of activity and taxable value occurring with a very low level of support needed from an infrastructure standpoint. It means you're growing wealth in the community. So that's downtown. What about development? Urban development, it's all about identifying what that missing piece is and filling it in. So downtown, what's the missing piece? It's housing. So here's our two projects and who we think is buying what we're selling. So that chart on the left there, it talks about sort of the breakdown of the household market. And you'll notice that 75% of households either are singles that live alone, couples with no kids, roommates. These are folks that would consider a downtown living situation. And so just a little bit more about development, and downtown urban development versus the kind of development that maybe we're more typically familiar with, which I would call more suburban. So first of all, development happens sort of at the nexus of public policy, private enterprise, private financing, and then design. So we're attacking this from a design standpoint. We had to figure out those other two pieces. That's what we're going to hone in on today. But just to kind of reiterate again what it means to be downtown. It's, left versus right here, we've got mixed-use buildings versus single-family homes for the most part. We got walking and biking versus cars. We've got public spaces versus private spaces with fences around them. And we've got, shopping and living separated by cars in the suburban. So, so the challenges. So on one side, making the numbers work, basically, how you deliver a product where there's a margin for someone to earn a profit. That's what I'll dig into a little bit, and then Jake's going to go into the public policy side after that. So, so the way I kind of am looking at this, it's about balancing amenity and affordability. So there's 4 kind of major factors in how you deliver a piece of real estate. It's the land, how much did you spend per unit of that land? So land that is close to higher levels of public service, land that you're allowed to build more on, land that's close to other things is more valuable. And then there's the size of the space that you're buying. How much space do you really need? And then there's the quality of construction. So you look at all of those things, and that kind of determines your price point. So it would be great if we could all be Bruce Wayne and just max out all that stuff, live in the White House, just live in a mansion in the middle of the most expensive city in the world, right? But we don't all have the backing of a multinational corporation or the U.S. government to purchase our homes. So most of us are working with a budget. So we got to scale that back a little bit. And now there's kind of basically 2 options. There's the one that we're more familiar with, where we prioritize the space. We have a higher quantity of land, higher quantity of building, and to hit that price point, we have to scale back sort of the quality of the land. It's a little bit farther out, it's a little bit more disconnected. And then there's some efficiencies with building construction that you have to work with as well. There at the bottom, transportation costs. There's sort of an inverse relationship between transportation costs and land quality. So that's another factor that helps achieve affordability. The other option is a more urban setting, the downtown setting. You're working with less land, smaller spaces, but you gotta, to balance that out, you've got higher quality land that's closer to things. You can connect to things more easily, so your transportation costs are low. And then there's a higher expectation of quality in the building as well. And so to kind of illustrate how our project on Main Street has addressed those, that has addressed that market niche. So it's about space versus place. It's about connection instead of parking. It's about cultivating those connections and curating them. And it's about landing at a price point that people are ultimately willing to pay. So space versus place, I'm just going to throw up some nice images here. This is the space behind the building. It's kind of a shared backyard setting. You don't get, downtown you don't get you don't each get your own backyard. You kind of have to share it. You design it to be a nice place to be and connect with people. When it comes to parking, the mentality for us is there was already, I think, like 700 parking stalls within a stone's throw of our site. Building more parking wasn't the best way to spend our money, because they can rent a stall in that garage for half as much as what it would cost us to build the parking, and there is capacity in those ramps. So this is kind of talking about the walk score and all the things that are close by. And again, this is sort of the another version of that those colorful sprinkles, stuff nearby. So it's about curating the uses within the building. So we didn't create private amenity space in this building because we're downtown. Those amenity spaces in the building can operate as their own businesses. So we've had a lot of success curating what's going to come into this so far. So we've got here in blue, we've got a restaurant slash food and beverage service that we're working with on that corner. We've got some smaller storefront businesses coming in the middle. I'm not sure how much I can say about the specifics here yet. And then on the far end, we're really looking to see if we can get a fitness-oriented use there. And all of this, we feel like, could all benefit from shared amenity of a drop-in daycare type of a situation. So that's an idea that we're working with and trying to achieve. And then at the end of the day, this is the final result. This is what the building looks like. So it's just, I don't know, I guess I don't have much to say beyond that. So with that, Jake.
Thanks, David.
You want to?
Are we switching sides?
Yeah,
Okay. So David kind of talked about some of the opportunities for housing in and around downtown. So we wanted to show this project as sort of a success story of what that could look like. This is the Kessel Run project built at the corner of 3rd Street and Avenue D. We're talking about this project for 3 reasons this morning. It provided housing for an underserved demographic in our community. It provided a good example of what infill development can look like, and it provided a much-needed housing option near downtown. So what we're seeing nationally through some of the market research that we've done is that the average American household is shrinking in size. There continues to be a strong demand for housing options in and around downtown, and people are desiring walkable neighborhoods where you can walk to cafes, bars, restaurants, parks. And so with that market research kind of in our back pocket, I asked myself, does Bismarck offer a housing product that sort of checks that boxes? And before Kessel Run, I think the answer to that question was not quite yet. So this was sort of the mission statement of what we wanted to do with this project. So kind of a quick review of where this project is located. It's on the corner of 3rd Street and Avenue D. It's about 3 or 4 blocks north of our downtown. I purchased the lot several years ago, kind of on speculation. You can see it was vacant at the time. It had been vacant for 30 years. There was a house at this location at one point in time that burned to the ground, and nothing had been rebuilt on this site due to the small lot size and some zoning restrictions. So if we look at the lot in plan view, it's again quite small in size. It's 37.5 feet wide by 150 feet long. So to put that in perspective, that is almost the exact size of 30 parking stalls at your local Walmart. So it's a very compact site. One of the other challenges with this lot is some of the zoning restrictions in place that we kind of had to navigate. So if we followed all of the existing zoning rules in the city of Bismarck, we would only have a buildable area that was 6.5 feet wide by 100 feet long. So that's not a real attainable building structure. So what we did is we kind of set the rules aside, and we started to give some thought to what do we want to build here. Let's ignore the rules and let's just think about what we want to build here. So working alongside my good friend Tanner at Plainview Design, we came up with a really unique concept for this urban walk-up style row house, trying to appeal to the young demographic in our community. We came up with a really unique floor plan where the main floor offers sort of your living and dining space. The second floor is a restroom, bedroom, and sort of a flex space. And then Tanner came up with this idea for a really unique loft in the rafter space for additional square footage. So it's sort of a stacked living condition, real compact. Also really appreciated the idea of having a front porch so you do have an opportunity to be outside of the unit. So if we go back to the site plan one more time, what does that look like and how does it fit on the lot? So in our opinion, it seems to fit pretty well. It makes sense to us. We have 4 individual units. Each unit has their own parking stall in a parking lot to the west of the building. And we did some renderings, and this is one of our early renderings of the building, and we felt, man, this could be cool. We feel like it'll fit on the site and it'll be an asset to the community. But the challenge was, how do we get this thing approved? So we're breaking all kinds of rules, right? We're not following any rules. We're writing our own rules. So what does the approval process look like? So first, obviously, you have to own or purchase the land, which we check that box. Develop concepts for the project. You have to show people what you're doing so they kind of understand how and why you're breaking the rules. So we did that. We have to receive support from the City of Bismarck planning staff. I cannot say enough about our community development department. Incredible people that we have in leadership positions there. They were really helpful throughout the process. You have to get approval from the Planning and Zoning Commission on the project. So that was a 10 or 11 person board. They voted whether or not to approve or deny the project. It came down to the last vote. One person decided whether this project was going to move forward or not, and ultimately they decided to give us the green light. So with that approval, we also had to go to the city commission. They ultimately voted to approve the project, so we were ready to move forward. So this approval process took about 6 months, and obviously it was an incredibly risky proposition. We had to design the building before we knew whether or not we'd be able to build it. So that is an incredible commitment, time, money, all those types of things. But ultimately, we felt like the juice was worth the squeeze, right? Like we wanted to provide some housing options for young people downtown, and this was important. So these are some process photos throughout the construction process. We started digging in July of 2019, and we closed on the last unit in October of 2020. So the whole process took about 14, 15 months to build and sell and close on all of these units. I think that's pretty remarkable how quickly we moved. And I think it's a testament to our team, our realtor team, our development team, and our design team. And it also shows demand for this type of housing product. They sold very quickly. And ultimately, we're really proud of the product that we produced. From the outside, I think it's a landmark building that a lot of people in the community recognize. We spent a lot of time on finishes. We went over and above what is standard on design. And Tanner came up with some really beautiful finishes on the inside. It's sort of sleek, modern, contemporary, minimal. We felt that would really appeal to our target demographic of that young professional. So you can see that photo on the top middle, that's the loft space. That was such a cool, neat little spot. We did a really interesting polished concrete floor, a lot of exposed wood. I thought it came together really nice. So at the end of the project, you have to ask yourself, how did we do? We sold all 4 units, and the living situation for 3 out of the 4 units was a single-person household. The last unit was actually an investor from California that is renting the unit out to traveling nurses. The age demographic that we hit on, 3 out of the 4 were that 25 to 35 age group. And their occupation, all young professionals. I think it's really interesting to look at the spread of those professionals. We have an attorney, someone in IT, someone in finance, and obviously the medical profession. So when we look at this project, it feels like a success story, and I hope it can spur additional like development in the future. So with that, I think we'll stand for any questions.
All right, let's hear it for David and Jake here. All right, gentlemen, do we want to gather around the table, gentlemen?
Sure.
We can. All right, if you have questions, Evan's running the Q&A mug this morning, and please just raise your hand. He'll get that in your hands. Our live stream audience, if you have questions on social media, please put them in the chat, and we'll get those asked here in the theater. But we got one right away from Bill. Bill, go ahead.
Beautiful everything. I love the whole presentation, start to finish. Congratulations on the project. I just had a comment. Is the Kessel Run, is that named after Star Wars? 4 parsecs?
Right, yeah. I get that question a lot. So the name Kessel is a family name. That's actually my mom's maiden name, so it's named after family, yeah.
But it's not an accident.
No, it's not.
Question down here, Keenan.
Well, more of a comment. Just want to say thank you guys for everything you're doing. I moved back 7 and some odd change years ago. Was really determined to find a place downtown, and it took 8 months, and I looked at one unit in 8 months, and that was the place I moved into. And I had the luxury of living in my parents' house until I found a place, and I know a lot of people don't have that kind of luxury and take what's available, so they don't move downtown. So thank you guys, because I've been downtown ever since I moved into that place. So
Great, awesome.
Right, yeah, and I'll piggyback on Keenan's question, because I think we have a lot of young professionals moving back to North Dakota. That's been a new trend in North Dakota over the last 15 years, I'd say. Your guys' experience with infill development, with downtown development, did you live in other markets previously where you had some, or were exposed to some of these ideas, or how was your background fed into this?
Yeah, I can take that one, I guess. Yeah, so we both grew up here. I moved away after high school. I lived in Fargo, where I went to school, then was in Minneapolis, and then spent a good long time in Philadelphia, downtown Philadelphia. Didn't own a car, didn't miss owning a car. I got to spend more on a nicer apartment. I got to spend more eating out. I got to save a little bit more. Not for me, not owning a car was a huge lifestyle, life benefit, and having the opportunity to do that in a bigger city was great. And smaller towns like Bismarck don't quite offer that same opportunity, but that's kind of what we're striving for, because if you can get to the point where you can live your life without having to own a car and spend the $500 a month, $1,000 a month, whatever it is, on owning that car, that just frees up you financially. And for a lot of people, the previous generation, a car meant freedom. I think for our generation, a car is the opposite of that in terms of financial freedom. And so having that option to be so close enough to live your whole life, if you work within walking distance of where you live, that was something that I've always tried to do. And my wife and I now live here in town. We live right on the edge of downtown. We own one car instead of two cars. So we do own a car. We have kids. You kind of need to have, it seems like you need to have a car with kids, at least in this town. But we're doing our best to again, control that expense. But yeah, I think that's what a lot of people are looking for. And we need to have more of those options available in Bismarck to attract that market. So.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note, like, these housing options downtown are not a great fit for everyone, right? For a large family, it may not be a good fit, but it's important not to ignore the people that are looking for this housing option. And I just don't think that we, in the past, had provided enough of this inventory. So it was kind of a mission of mine, kind of understanding what we offered in the community, that, hey, maybe it's time we start looking at some of these things.
As a dad to two teenagers, one of them's about to be insured with a vehicle, the other one already is. I can appreciate them being exposed to some of this. So I want to make sure they watch this 1 Million Cup so that they know they don't need a car. Question here.
Hey there. So I'm a mortgage officer in the area, and when these houses came for sale, they were wonderfully priced. I had a lot of clients reach out about them. Was it hard for you to keep them at a low price point or at affordable price point with the project?
Yeah, we worked really hard to keep the units affordable. And a lot of what dictated the price was what we could get for kind of the appraisal. The appraisal process was really important, and the appraisers struggled to find comps because nobody had built anything like this. So they had to compare condominiums on sort of the fringe of town to what we were doing on the interior of town. And that's not really comparing apples to apples. So we worked really hard with Mike at Venture Real Estate to come up with a price point that we felt was approachable, but also attainable from an appraisal standpoint. So it was very tricky to come to where we landed, but yeah, our goal was to keep it affordable.
Question for Janya.
So piggybacking on that, David, could you talk a little bit about the living space that's going to be in your project? And are those units for rent, for purchase, and what does that look like?
Yeah. So ours is a rental building. When you're stacking units on top of each other, for sale becomes a lot more tricky. Separation between condominiums, there's a higher bar there. There's condo associations are also famously litigious. You wind up paying higher design construction fees because of that, among other things. But yeah, so we worked really hard again to haven't released our pricing yet, but I think people will be pleasantly surprised when they see it. And that's because we made a very big effort to spend the money where we thought there was value and not on where we didn't think there was value. So parking isn't like the primo parking situation. You know, you're going to walk a half block or maybe a block to your car, but hopefully that's not like for the people that are going to live there. That's not going to be a big deal. We don't think. We don't. You know, I mentioned that we don't have any private community amenity space in the building except for that back courtyard. So we've got actually a fair amount of it, but it's exterior space, which is a lot more affordable than interior space. So the interior gathering space is our actual businesses. You know, so we still have it. It's just we're taking that approach because we're downtown, because we're so close to. You know, there's already people there that also are going to want to be there, so we can invite those folks in and sell them food and drinks and stuff. So that's ours is a rental basically.
Question here.
So Jake, I came back from school in Fargo and I saw the housing you worked on. I thought, man, as soon as I move out of my parents' place, this would be pretty nice. But I'm curious, I don't know anything about zoning, so would the work you did with the city accelerate similar projects with smaller lots like this?
I hope so. The city has established what's called an infill and redevelopment policy, which kind of encourages this type of development. And they've actually scaled back on their parking requirements since the inception of this project. So I think we're starting to see some rule changes because of the demand for this type of housing project. So long story short, yeah, I think we're going to see, first one through the door is a little bit of a struggle, but the next project should be a little bit easier. Good question.
Yeah, I had a similar question. One, you guys' slide decks were really well put together. There was lots of good graphics in there, lots of good info. The Venn diagram, especially, where you had the design and architecture, private financing, and that public policy piece. Is that infill reg that they put together? Was that a direct result of some of this work that you guys have been doing, or were there other projects that were informing that as well?
No. So again, we have some really progressive and amazing people at the City of Bismarck, and they put together an infill and redevelopment policy, kind of encouraging this type of development. It didn't really change any of the rules. It just was sort of like a guidebook of like, hey, we should encourage this type of a development. And that happened almost simultaneously to the development of the Kessel Run design. So David and I actually have a pretty good relationship with the city staff, and we assisted them a little bit on some of that infill and redevelopment language within that policy.
Right. It looks like we got a question from social media.
Hi. So Kate wants to know for Jake, can you talk about what your buyers did say about parking and about what the wider community thought about your parking solution?
Yeah, great question, Kate. So parking was a major issue and a major talking point on this project. We did have some neighbors that were concerned that we would overpark the streets and there just wasn't room for all the cars, and people would be concerned that they don't have a garage. And I haven't received any feedback from the buyers of these units about parking. They're all perfectly content to have one car parked in the parking lot. That is enough for all of them. And what we've also found is we studied the street. There's plenty of parking on the street in front of the units. And in the summer months when it's nice, people are actually parking on the street in front of their units. They're not even using the parking that we've provided. So again, long story short, parking hasn't really been an issue. It's worked quite well the way it's been designed.
Kate's got another question. How important is it to be pet-friendly in the demographic that you're pursuing?
Yeah, I'll take this one. Yeah, so when we did our market research, we had a guy on the team that we formed to try to tackle this project who had a background in that. And so that was one of the big things that he helped us identify is the pet-friendly need for a building like this. When you look at what the amenity packages are at sort of similar properties, higher end, rental units around town, larger complexes, the ones that were pet friendly, not even just pet friendly, but pet oriented, let's say, did way better than the ones that weren't. So, and I think there's some sort of what's the word, rationalization of why that is the case in the literature out there. You know, it's young adults these days, they're graduating college with more debt, and they're just kind of delaying the next stage of life a little bit. So there's these expanding stages of life, that stage, and also the post-retirement stage where you're living longer and healthier, where it's sort of this, like, you're not ready to buy a house yet and do that whole thing, and so having a pet companion to do that with for a few years is a really, you know, what a lot of people are going for, and we need to make sure that we're accommodating that. So
I think that's last year's Mandan Business Pitch Competition winner, Dot Frank, if I'm correct. So I think Dot's got a question for us.
Yeah, good morning and thank you. Really exciting projects, and it's nice to see you challenge the status quo and initiate some change in our community. I have a question. The lot that you pursued was vacant, and there's not, I would say, an overstock of vacant lots throughout our downtown or core in the community, both Bismarck or Mandan. A lot of them are occupied by existing homes that are in various states of maintenance and repair. Have you looked into the economics or opportunities of buying a site that has an existing home and raising it so you can construct something that is more appealing to the demographic that's seeking this type of housing?
Yeah, that's something we're looking at. And it's important to note there are lots that have surface parking on them. There are some vacant lots. There are, as you mentioned, Dot, there are lots that have houses that are in ill repair. So there's opportunities there. It's just kind of digging into those opportunities. What we've found is the more you spend on land, the higher the density of the building that you have to put on the site. There's a direct correlation on how much you spend and how many units you have to get on there, and it gets to be more challenging the more expensive the land is. So it's a challenge, but it's definitely something David and I are looking at.
yeah, we're definitely, the conditions that were available in these two projects that we've, were able to get off the ground were somewhat unique in that you already own this vacant lot, and I don't think you paid a heck of a lot when you first bought it. And then for us, the site downtown being next to parking, the fact that it was owned by someone who's willing to sell it for a reasonable price. We bought it from the city. So those are some factors that helped make these projects feasible. Down the road, how do you buy that property that has some improvements on it, but maybe not very well maintained, but you put a certain value on those improvements, but you still need to buy it at that value, even if you're just going to tear it down. And so how do you basically make the numbers work? You really can't do it right now unless it's in a downtown zoning district, downtown or downtown fringe. You can't get the density on a site that isn't one of those zoning districts to justify spending more than, basically your budget for land for a dwelling isn't much more than $20,000 to $25,000 per unit. So if you're buying the land for $150,000, you need to put 6 dwelling units where there was 1. That's kind of the math there. And a lot of the zoning districts, you can't do that. And so again, that's part of the challenge from the public policy side. And then on the private side, you're still trying to create some kind of a margin for whoever is buying that land, building the building, and then selling it. And basically, what you pay for the land directly eats into whatever that profit margin is. And so you figure out what you want to build, and that costs a certain amount, and you estimate what that is. And generally, it is what it is. And so it comes down to how much is the landowner going to get versus how much profit margin is there for the developer. Another thing that I'll just kind of quickly mention is rental versus owning. An investment property isn't going to appraise for the same number as an owner-occupied property. But multifamily is basically an investment property type product, and that's what we've been talking about this. What it might take for us to see more of this is owner-occupied multifamily. How do you figure out how to do that? I don't know if condominium's always the answer. There's a thing called a housing co-op, which is interesting, but there's some challenges there in terms of how you finance it. But there's kind of some good news on that front that we're still doing the legwork on it. But being in a small state like North Dakota, we've got some interesting resources at our disposal to potentially help try to crack that code a little bit between the Bank of North Dakota and other resources that might be out there just at a smaller scale. The access to talk to the people that control these funds is so much higher here, just to have a conversation about these issues and say, well, what if we did this and what if we did that? So I'm actually really optimistic that North Dakota can be one of the few places in the country that we have the ability to own these kind of properties more readily than in other places. Because rental's great, but it's a better deal to own, really.
Sure.
And that's what everybody. Ultimately, that's what their goal is, to own. Like, rental is generally not considered a long-term option for most people. So.
Exciting.
Just for our live stream audience, Dot was saying that the Mandan School District referendum is with the site to the Mandan High School. There might be some options there that could help with some of those projects. So, David, if I could summarize what you were saying, even on just a piece of land that you acquire at a reasonable price, it still takes a lot of work and massaging to carve out a margin on that. If you're raising a building, it just you're kind of
and if you're selling to a homeowner, that margin is maybe not that important. Because when you own a property, you're renting it to yourself, but you're going to rent it to yourself for whatever what it costs to cover the debt service. Basically, you're not trying to create this margin for someone else. And I could get into the details there, but maybe I won't.
We have a question over here.
So I guess maybe piggybacking on Dot a little bit, sort of focus more on housing and land problems. But now that you've done it, you have projects under your resume, I guess. What do you foresee as continued challenges for urban development in Bismarck downtown? And maybe I guess specifically compared to like Fargo is kind of our competitor within North Dakota. Their downtown development obviously has been pretty extraordinary. How do you see us continuing maybe to strive towards that, and just what will be the challenges?
I guess the challenges are going to be rising land costs is always a challenge that can be a barrier to new development. I don't know other challenges.
Yeah, I think
I guess I'll maybe add on to this. So each one of these infill projects and development downtown projects sort of takes a surgeon's hand, right? It's a case-by-case basis. It really has unique challenges on each site and unique financial challenges on each site. So the projects that we're showing you may not be repeatable over and over and over again. You might have to look at a new project at a new location with a new set of challenges and circumstances. And I think that's really where David and I can shine a little bit with our design backgrounds. We can kind of sift through the challenges and create a unique product for each project site. So I think that's something we're gonna be excited to continue to work on.
Yeah, just to echo that. Yeah, when you're doing infill, you are coming into an existing context, and you have to understand how to connect to that existing context in the most effective way. You're going to have novel solutions for that, which are not going to lend themselves necessarily to some of the economy of scale you might get when you are building an entirely new neighborhood from scratch, perhaps. And so those, that's just an integral part of that. So I'm intrigued actually by some of the by what Nordic Steel is doing actually, and the potential for us to work with them and develop a building prototype that can maybe have that a level of adaptability, but also an economy of scale, or that sort of a modular approach. So that's, I think, something that we're interested in exploring, is how can we develop a library of prototypes that can have a little bit of that economy of scale. I think it's, the zoning part of it too, because you can't, like, there's this, I think we've already covered it, the land versus the profit margin thing. And so one way to try to tackle that is to get a more owner-occupied approach to these, but it's also multifamily because you need to get that density. And so that's kind of the challenge that we're trying to solve in terms of creating a repeatable process here. And so
I know we're out of time, but I just wanted to thank you guys, David and Jake, for being here. I've got 2 compliments and then 1 question. First of all, you guys look great, man. Just dressed to the nines this morning. Really, really nice to look at. Secondly, I'm excited about the development of downtown. My in-laws were here from Chattanooga, Tennessee, and I think they were impressed as we walked around and they saw what the city is and what it can be and what it will be. And so that's cool, because Chattanooga's a bustling downtown, but it wasn't always. So it's exciting to see this work going on. My question is maybe a little more broad for more people to glean from, but I see design and architecture as such a creative pursuit, and I think a lot of times there are so many details and so many laws and things that you have to go through. How do each of you pursue that creativity within the bounds of what the process is and the hurdles that you have to jump over?
That's a good question and a difficult question. So I think I always start with, I don't start within the box of the rules. I start with, what do I want to create? And then how do I sort of massage that to fit within the rules? So I start with the big picture first. Don't ignore the rules first, right? Maybe that's the wrong way to do it. But if you just conform to the rules initially, you just box yourself in, and you just feel like you're repeating things that have already been done. So my creative process is to initially ignore rules and then fine tune.
Yeah, and I guess to just kind of try to briefly answer that, I actually enjoy the more information I have about what the constraints are, the more targeted and focused the design can be. And so that's, you do your market research, you got zoning codes, building codes, but you kind of also ask, well, what's the point of this rule? Can we satisfy that by another means? And so there is some negotiation more at the zoning level. In the building codes, I mean, it's life safety stuff. You generally, you're creating something, but you're also, there's safety issues there that you have to respect. So, but for me, the more parameters there are to the design, the more, I think the better the product is actually at the end of the day.
Yeah, totally agree. We're kind of dorks that way. Like, the harder the problem is, the more fun it is. Yeah. So, yep.
Well, I think we could probably stay and ask questions for another hour by the looks, and I want to thank everybody online and here for all the great questions today. They've been really good, and I want to thank both of you for being here. We always like to ask the same last question, and that is, what can we, Bismarck Mandan Million Cups community, do to support you in these projects and future projects?
For downtown development, it's just support downtown, be a patron of downtown, go to the bars, the restaurants, continue to support your community, and the housing component will follow that. The more energy we put downtown, the more demand we'll create for housing downtown.
Yeah, and we want to, we aspire to have a stronger line of communication with who we're eventually who our customers are going to be. We need to get a little bit better at our social media game. I think a little bit, that's something that's been lacking so far. It's not something that gets me excited, but I know that's important. We do have a Facebook page for Denizen Partners for the 630 Main project, which anyway, we are going to be announcing some stuff on that Facebook page soon. Pay attention to that. There's ways to get in touch with us. We want to hear from you because we want to know what you're looking for, so we can go find that thing and make it happen. And so establishing that line of communication is going to be really important to us. And so we're going to work hard to make that available and kind of, I guess, keep your ears pricked up as we make those efforts, I guess. So.
All right, let's hear it for David and Jake one more time. Gentlemen, thank you so much for the time this morning. Thank you for the good work you do in Bismarck with these developments. Our community's benefiting from it. So thanks a lot, fellas. I think we could have gone another hour this morning. We'll probably ask you to come back later this year to give a trestle update. And Jake, when you start dorking out on a new project, we'd like to hear about that too. So. All right, coming up next at 1 Million Cups next week, it's SBDC Day. It's National SBDC Day next Wednesday, March 17th. So we'll have an SBDC counselor and a couple of entrepreneurs that have been helped by the SBDC speaking next week. March 24th, we have a really neat program. We have a repeat speaker, Golden Path Solutions, out of Fargo, who spoke in 2019. They'll be back, and then there'll also be some folks from Bismarck Public Schools talking about the Innovation Pathway, a new project-based learning platform that they're working on there. And then March 31st, we'll have some of the Mandan Business Pitch competition finalists speaking on stage on March 31st. So please, great to see all the new people here this morning. Come back again. This is fun, isn't it? Okay. All right. Have a great rest of the week, all.